Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, are 11 people really watching? That's amazing. Feel free to say hi in the chat. Um, Hello, everyone. I am Coach Julia, your certified kink-informed sex coach. And today we are answering the question for women who worry, is my sex drive too low? So for those of you who watch my content, I just did a video for women who worry if their sex drive is too high. And of course, I knew this question was going to come up because these are the messages that we're given as women. Don't be too horny, but don't be too rigid. It's like, don't be blonde, don't be brunette, don't be too blonde if you are blonde. You don't want small boobs, but God forbid your boobs are too big. It's like, we can't win, but we can. We just get these really polarizing and contradictory messages. Okay, we'll see if anyone comes on. Feel free to say hi. Okay. So to begin, most couples enter sex coaching or sex therapy because one person has low desire. And believe it or not, in heterosexual couples, it's not always the woman. Men can experience a different type of desire too, which might not actually be low desire. It's just a different response style, a different desire style, which we're going to talk about in this video. So the truth is, we have been sold lies, a lot of lies about what sex drive and turn on are supposed to look like from the time that we had sex education in junior high to all the crappy ways that sex is portrayed in movies, TV, and most porn, not all porn. There actually is ethical porn that does a good job of portraying really positive, sensual, connected sexuality. I can make another video about that if someone's curious. But mostly what we see, what we're told, it's all wrong. And many women decide based on that bad information that they're broken, they're frigid, they're dried up. I've heard women tell me that before, that they feel like they're dried up down there. And it's all because of bad information and comparing ourselves to unattainable standards sometimes, and also just a very misrepresented sex style and desire style. So I hope this video, my intention is that this will be the beginning of changing all of that for you. So again, I'm Coach Julia Jules. I am a certified kink-informed sex coach for midlife women and couples. And I'm here to help you get the right guidance and the right information so that you can let go of self-judgment, let go of blame and shame, so that you can have the pleasure and sex that it truly is your birthright to enjoy pleasure and sex. So in this video, we are going to bust lies about desire. We are going to talk about how desire works and also what to do if you and your partner have different desire styles. We'll cover that toward the end. So I'm also going to be sharing some really great information from this book by Emily Nagoski. It's called Come As You Are. I highly recommend this book. It's so great. This is a book that if more people read it, there would be a lot of sex coaches and sex therapists out of business probably, because you get a lot. You get so much out of this book. I just love it. So let's start with some lie busting. All right. So lie number one, desire or turn on should just appear fast when the time is right. You should just get turned on. If it's time for sex to happen, you should just get turned on. Okay, lie. Why? Why is that a lie? Well, first of all, we have different desire styles, and we all have different sexual accelerators and sexual brakes. It's called the dual control model, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a little bit. So within that context, considering that we're all built differently, we all have, a totally different history, a religious culture, our religious background, cultural background, the culture of our family around sexuality, all of that can play into what our desire response is. And also just what else is happening in our lives, stress, just having a baby, just going through some type of a loss, whether it's the loss of a family member, the loss of a job, um, maybe even a big move that was a good thing, but it still brings a lot of stress. So that can all play a huge role in your response, how you respond to sexual stimuli. So desire is not always fast, it's not always easy, and that doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. So that's lie number one. Lie number two, if I'm not wet, I'm not really turned on. Lies, lies. Our body can respond in different ways. I mean, I'm sure sometimes you've noticed that you are maybe really wet down there and you're like, why? What is going on? There's no reason for me to want sex right now, but you're wet. Our bodies just do interesting things sometimes. If you're dehydrated, if you've been exercising a lot, certain medications, certain different diets, all of that can change the microbiome of the vagina, and you can be more wet or less wet just because of other things that have nothing to do with your sexual response cycle. Okay, lie number three. If I take too long, I must be broken. So, too long compared to what? Too long compared to who? What does too long even mean? I've talked to so many people that have these ideas about how quickly they should get turned on. This kind of goes with lie number one, but what does too long even mean? And what else is going on within the relationship or within yourself that is maybe causing you to get turned on in a different way? And it's just different. It's not right or wrong. There's a lot to consider there. But rather than making yourself automatically wrong, get curious. So there's no such thing as too long and that you're broken, period. Lie number four, it must be my hormones. So I'm actually going to read something from Emily Nagoski's book here for you. Because this is definitely a myth that I believed. I thought that, hormonal changes, especially as we age, as women, that would play a role in sexual response and desire. And it can. I'm not saying that it doesn't ever. It certainly can, but it's not the only thing. So this is what Emily Nagoski says in her book. Good news, it's probably not your hormones. If you're experiencing pain with sex, talk to a medical provider. Absolutely. There may be hormonal issues involved, along with a variety of neurological and physiological factors. But if you're experiencing low desire, hormones are the least likely culprits. Lori Brotto and her colleagues tested 6 hormonal factors to determine which predicted more or less dysfunction in women with low desire. And not one of them was significantly predictive of low desire. So if it's not your hormones, what is it? According to Brotto, developmental history, psychiatric history, and psychosexual history, in other words, stress, depression, anxiety, trauma, attachment, all of these things can play into desire, what feels like low desire. And it's natural because, we live in a world and a time where there's a chemical fix for everything. There's a pill that we can take for everything, and that can feel easier. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a completely natural human response. But is it going to serve you in the long run to categorize what feels like low desire as simply a hormonal issue? When there's more, there's such rich nuance that you can explore to get to know yourself and really have a much better pleasure and sex life than you currently might think is available. So, not always hormones. In fact, very little of the time it's hormones. Okay. So, let's talk about spontaneous and responsive desire. These are the main 2 types of desire. And how they are different. So spontaneous is characterized by someone, or characterized as someone who gets turned on fairly quickly. You see a sexy person, there's a certain kind of context, rubbing against your partner's skin first thing in the morning. The sheets feel really good and warm. Um, certain, really sensual food, a certain scent, and this, you can get turned on very easily by a lot of different things. But it's more like the quickness that someone is ready to engage in sex is spontaneous. Responsive, on the other hand, is like a slow burn. It's like preheating the oven. You have to kind of slowly turn things on. There have to be different cues. There has to be the right context. And then someone with responsive desire will be turned on and ready for sexual activity. Both are great, both are normal, and both can be very context dependent. Context is everything. You'll probably hear me say that a lot in this video. It's like, I have good news and bad news, and I'll tell you the bad news first. There isn't a one size fits all, one answer for the troubles that you might be having in your sex life. The good news is there isn't a one size fits all, one answer kind of thing for whatever you might be experiencing. And why I think that's great news. I mean, it might feel like bad news because it might feel like there's work to do. I call it exploring and getting curious. Why I think that's good news is that we get to explore and we get to discover and we get to learn about ourselves. And there's so much. There's so much. I'm still learning so much about myself. There's so much that you can learn about who you are as a sensual, erotic being at this stage of life. We've been told that it's over at a certain age. We're told it's over when you get gray hair. Nope, hate to break it to you, not true. I feel like I'm just getting started in many ways. So, okay, back to our topic here. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about is sexual breaks and sexual accelerators when it comes to sex and turn on. So your brain has a sexual accelerator that responds to sex-related stimuli. So this is anything that you have learned to associate with arousal. So it can be certain places, certain people, certain songs. I'm sure that you've heard, like maybe the song that was played at your wedding, or the song when you first fell in love, and it takes you back to that place. Certain scents, anything that you can imagine can be an accelerator if it is somehow tied to a positive sexual experience. So that's your accelerator. Your brain also has brakes that respond to anything that your brain interprets as a good reason not to be turned on right now. So this could be, maybe someone that you're attracted to and you shouldn't be attracted to them. And so that you're pumping the brakes on that. Or it could be the fear of getting pregnant, the fear of an STI. Those can be brakes. But also stress can be a big break. Feeling shame. Maybe there's certain stories that are still playing out in your mind about the sex that you should or shouldn't be having. And that is causing you to hit your sexual brakes. Some people have more sensitive brakes. Some people have more sensitive accelerators, and this can be very context dependent as well. So there's a lot of nuance. And just because you might have a very sensitive accelerator in certain circumstances doesn't mean that you're always going to. And just because you have very sensitive brakes in certain circumstances doesn't mean that you're always going to. Sometimes, and this might be a bit of a sensitive thing to hear, but sometimes your body's intelligence is pumping the brakes because perhaps that the person that you're in relationship maybe, I don't want to go as far as to say that automatically assume that they're not the right person for you. I wouldn't go that far. But your body could be telling you, hey, there's more to pay attention to here. There's something going on that isn't being addressed. And I can certainly point to a time in my life where I was in a relationship with someone and I thought that we were going to get married. I thought that he was the love of my life. I mean, he was the love of my life in a lot of ways, but we just weren't meant to be together. And there was a good period of time toward the end of our relationship where I was just pissed off and I wouldn't let myself feel it. And that really got in the way of our relationship. And it was, I felt like there was something going on with me sexually. And yeah, there was, but the reason was I was really angry in the relationship and I wasn't allowing myself to really own that anger. So there was a lot to work through there. But the good news is we can do it. If that sounds like you, there are ways to work through things. There's always a way. There's always a way. And I will say, one thing I always come back to is life is happening for us. Life is happening for me. I mean, even just as I was preparing this today, going over my last notes and kind of putting things together, some things came up for me and I was like, wow, that's incredible. After all this time, um, there's a little more to unearth there. Huh. Like a little tender spot in my heart revealed itself. And it was like, oh, wow. I guess it's time. I guess it was time for that to come up. So yeah, I just come back to, okay, life is happening for me. I see that as a gift, not as I think in the past I would have interpreted that as like, oh, when am I going to be done with this? Why does this stuff keep coming up? And that's not helpful. And the truth is life is happening for me. And so if you find yourself in a difficult place right now, consider how, as hard as it may be, life could be happening for you. And this really challenging experience that you're going through could really be a gift, that there's a lot of gold to unearth from the hardships and the difficulties that you're going through right now. I believe that 100%. I really do. That, and it's such a shift. I just laugh because it's such a shift in how the mind works, in the kinds of solutions that will appear for you when we take that positive and curious mindset about whatever we're going through, rather than just assuming that it's all bad, it's all broken, I'm broken, I can't, it's never going to work. That's not a helpful place to be. It's okay to be there for a moment because we're human, but how is life handing this to me as a gift? How is this happening for me? What can I take from this? So, okay, now let's talk about what to do if you and your partner have different desire appetites. So the issue isn't necessarily that you do have different levels of desire. It is, and it's also very much how you manage it. So when this happens, both of you can end up feeling rejected and resentful, which just drives a deeper wedge between you. And you both might feeling like there's something wrong with you innately. The person who has higher desire, who's initiating a lot, they might start feeling like, oh my gosh, on the one hand, I'm feeling really rejected. I'm feeling ugly. I'm feeling diminished. But I'm also starting to wonder, like, oh my God, is there something wrong with me? Am I a perv? Is my sex drive too high? Am I a sex addict? Like, all these thoughts can start rolling around in the mind. And for the person who maybe has a lower desire, what seems like lower desire, or more responsive, they can start feeling like they're being pushed, they're being pressured, and that can build resentment and more resistance. So, and also questions of like, what is wrong with me? Why do I not want to engage sexually with my partner? Why we used to have such great sex? What's going on? It can bring up a lot of questions. So the person with the responsive desire, which might feel like lower desire, maybe you just need more sex-related stimuli activating your turn-on response, and fewer things that will activate your brakes. So if what feels like pressure, what feels like resentment from your partner, that can pump your brakes big time. We talked about the sexual accelerator and the sexual brakes. Those feelings are going to pump your brakes big time. And so what you need is more time, more warming up, more sex-related clues that this leads me to my answer, which might surprise you. What to do is take sex off the table completely. And this is whatever sex means in your relationship, but no genital contact with anything, with the other person's genitals, hands, toys, no contact. and no orgasms with the other person present. So we're taking that off the table. And it might surprise you, but listen to why this will be helpful. When you remove every trace of expectation or demand that will result from sex, then you're free to explore sensuality, the energy of sensuality, and just being together without the pressure of having it go anywhere. So imagine what this could do in your relationship. You can kiss, you can still give physical affection, but you know that it will not lead to sex. So the person who might have a higher sex drive and they're initiating more, they're not going to feel like they're going to be rejected. And the person who feels like they're being pushed and maybe has what seems like a lower drive, they know they're not being pressured into anything. And a big reminder here, please hear me on this. You are doing this to create a new dynamic together. You're not doing this because one person is a problem or it's someone's fault. That is super important to understand. The two of you are together for a reason. You're still together for a reason. You're working on this issue together for a reason. And it's the two of you working on the dynamic. You're not making the other person wrong. It's an experiment to generate sexual energy and more sensuality between you. You can actually generate that energy and not have to do anything with it. So when you do reintroduce intimacy, do it gently and remember there's nothing wrong with you. I'm going to come back to that. You're not coming from a place of fixing yourself or the other person or making each other wrong. You're taking a bold stand to have intimacy by your own rules as a couple. You are taking a bold stand to have intimacy by your rules as a couple. Remember when we talked about in the beginning about how sex education that we got was just not helpful in a lot of ways, and the way sex is portrayed in movies and most porn, you haven't been set up for success. A lot of us have not. So again, this is igniting new sensuality in your relationship based on love and care for each other and the very unique energy and nuances of eroticism that each of you carry. I'm trying to bring my notes back up here. Why isn't this going? There we go. Yeah, so you get to decide. This is a great opportunity for the two of you to decide how you want your intimacy in your relationship to look. And the first step is really, okay, take everything that you've learned. Imagine that you could just like throw it in a pile and look at it and just think about like, okay, are these my beliefs? Are these how I want to see myself and my sensuality and the kind of sex that I want to be having? Maybe there are certain things in there that you would want to pull out and other things that you're like, oh my God, that's what my great grandma said. Oh my God, that's what my weird aunt used to tell me. Whatever it is, you can decide what kind of intimacy and what kind of sexuality you want to have based on your own rules and your own values, not what the TV is telling you, not what big medicine is saying, which there's more in this book I wanted to share, which I'll make another video on because we're at 24 minutes almost. But you get to decide. You get to decide. And like I said, check out this book. Where am I? There we are. Come As You Are. So good. Yeah. So more to come. More. Lots of great information to come. So what questions do you have? Please feel free to reach out to me. My website is aliveandkinky.com. You can go there and we can book a discovery call. You can send me a hump day hotline question that I can email to you and also answer here. And yeah, let's all just have more pleasure and fun and connection together. I believe it's possible. I believe we can do it. And yeah, we'll stop there. So thanks for watching. Please share with anyone that would find this helpful. Make sure that you're subscribed to my channel, and I'll see you next time.